because brooder mortality problems do not start from when you bring in the chicks. Where do they start? Where do they start? Yes? From when you start sourcing them, right? It starts at the back of the mind. You need to talk to the farmer and understand where are they coming from. Why do they need to keep these birds? You need to talk to the farmer and ask them, which market are they targeting? You need to talk to the farmer and know, is it a retirement plan? Is it a plan to pay school fees in the next 1 month? If a farmer is having a retirement plan and they are somewhere in the suburbs, as compared to another farmer who is telling you, I need to multiply my 20,000, 50,000 so that I can pay school fees in the next 2 months for my child who will be joining grade 7. Are you going to refer them to the same kind of poultry keeping? It's going to be different, right? If somebody is here in Mombasa as compared to somebody who is in Western, will you refer them to the same kind of chicks that they need to bring on board based on the market trends in their area? Not the same, right? So it's very important to have that question. Where is the farmer coming from? Because you are the professionals whom you will be advising the farmer on what to do. And today we are going to discuss the causes of early chick mortality. One very important cause of early chick mortality is genetics and the genetic makeup of the bird. The other cause of early chick mortality is more involved around the environmental conditions. And in the environmental conditions, we are talking about housing, we are talking about equipment, we are talking about brooding. And another factor that would be very important as a cause of early chick mortality is the nutrition. And then last but not least, another cause of mortality would be health and disease management. And that's why I said, if you look at that photo, you should be able to understand all we are going to talk about. We would like the farmer to have the best housing. We would like the farmer to have the best ventilation. We would like the farmer to have the most and optimum spacing. We would like the farmer to have the healthiest of day-old chicks. And we would like the farmer to have quality day-old chicks. And that is what we are going to start with, because it's the most important thing before we can even start keeping the birds. So by the end of the presentation, let us ensure at least we go home with an understanding of that. I know for most of us it's more of a refresher. I know for most of us it's going to shed more insight, but I really hope it's going to be an interactive session. And starting off, again, that is just an emphasis on what we shall be discussing today. It is going to touch on genetics. It is going to touch on management. It is going to touch on nutrition. And last but not least, it is going to touch on the health of the bird. And the essence of those rings is to show you or to ensure that you emphasize to the farmer, one does not function without the other. You can get the best quality genetic makeup of a bird, whether it is a layer bird, whether it is a broiler bird. We have the Cobb 500, we have the Rose 308, you have the Arborecas. You can get the best genetic makeup from the best hatcheries in the world, whereby you are guaranteed of very good FCR, whereby you are guaranteed of disease resistance. But if the management of the bird is not well taken care of, I guarantee you, you are not going to make it. You can have the best management in terms of housing, spacing, in terms of equipment, in terms of ventilation, in terms of temperature regulation. But if you do not have the quality genetics, those birds will not make it through the second week of brooding. Again, the same happens to the health of the bird. You can have the best genetics, the best nutrition, best management, but if the health of the bird is not checked, you might end up losing a very big number of the birds. And on genetics, it's very important for us to discuss something called phenotype. Phenotype is the observable physical properties or traits, what you can see, what the farmer can see. Anytime you talk about genetics and you don't refer to phenotype, the farmer might not understand. It's like talking about germs. It's like talking about germs and not saying what is the observable characteristics of a germ. What are you going to get when there are germs, when somebody doesn't wash their hands? Disease. So for you to explain germs, staphylococcus, streptococcus, you must discuss the observable outcome. So anytime we discuss phenotype, we are talking about what is the observable outcome. And on the phenotype, when we are talking about poultry, the observable outcome most of the times will be eggs. For egg production, which birds do you need to bring to the brooder? Layers, right? Do we know the types of layers that are available within the country? The types of layers that we have in terms of name. We just know we have layers. From which sources can we get a layer bird from? Where can we get a layer bird from? Kenchik? Somebody else? Where else can we get a layer bird from if we wanted to venture into egg production purely? Production of maybe 300 plus of eggs per year. Yes? Any other source? Isinya? Somebody else? Ken bird? Yeah, so at least that's an example of where we can get egg-producing birds. And the examples is Isa Brown, Highline, and the rest. Then we can talk about meat production. The observable trait is meat production. Within a month, the bird gains 2 kilos. Where can we source this kind of birds from? In Kenya. One? Yes? Kenchik. Any other place we can source these birds from? Any other place we can source broiler birds from? Supreme, Isinya, Suguna. Any other place we can source? It's very important, you as the professionals, to know where we can source these birds so that you can answer the next questions that I'm going to be asking you, so that you can help the farmer to understand what they are talking about. And then we have the improved kienyeji birds, whereby you can get some eggs and you can get some meat. Do you know Croiler? Do we know rainbow rooster? Do we know these birds? Where do we source rainbow rooster from? Yes? Kukuchik. Where do we source Croiler from? Kukuchik. Where do we source Kenbro from? Kenchik. Then last but not least, we have the local birds or the kienyeji birds, whereby they are going to produce very few eggs, very tasty meat, and resistance to diseases. That is the phenotype. And then now the question is the genetic makeup of these birds. What cannot be seen? What you, the vet, knows, rather than what the farmer understands. So the genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism. The genetic makeup of an organism. This cannot be improved. This is basically what the bird is. So if you bring in the correct environment, then you end up with the phenotype. And that's why we are saying genotype plus environment equals phenotype. Most times the farmer is only focused on the phenotype, and it is us, the vets, it is us, the professionals, to help them through understanding where to get the best genotype and to understand the environment. The environment encompasses supplementation, feeding, housing, and all the rest. Can we agree on this first part of genetic makeup? Can we appreciate that we need to have a better discussion with the farmers? Why I'm insisting is because I know for the egg production, we might not have a very big challenge. We are doing quite well on that. I know for the meat production, again, everybody understands that. But where we are having a lot of issues is on the improved kienyeji. Where do we source improved kienyeji from? So we have discussed that. Are farmers all sourcing improved kienyeji from those reputable hatcheries? Are they? Remember the topic, early chick mortality. I want us to discuss why are farmers calling us and telling us, I purchased 50 birds, and before I got home, 20 were dead. Genetic makeup would be the first issue. And that's the first question you ask the farmer is, where did you get your birds from? Because the people, all the professionals who are handling these improved kienyeji birds, they have a guarantee. And the guarantee is, by the time these birds get to 3 to 4 months, they will have attained a weight of around 2 kilos. And they are telling you, by the time these birds get to 4.5 months, they will start laying. And these birds, improved kienyeji, are going to give you 150 for the Croiler, 200 for the Rainbow Rooster, 220 for the Kenbro eggs. This is the guarantee they give you. So when the farmer buys birds from Kenchik, from Kukuchik, from wherever, as improved kienyeji, goes home, broods them, ensures that they get the best feed, the birds mature, and then they realize the birds will not lie on the eggs, so they buy an incubator. We have a very upcoming business called incubator cells. Naona mnacheka. And so they take the fertilized eggs and they put them in the incubator, and then they produce chicks. That has been happening. I have no issue with that, because when they bought the improved kienyeji, that was an F1. But when they hatch their eggs, what are we talking about? F2. Even before we get to the F2 part, they are not even changing the cockerels from what they had purchased. So it's basically a brother and a sister. So we are talking about inbreeding plus an F2. And so they realize there's a business aspect to it here. So when their fellow farmer asks them, where did you get these wonderful birds you have, which are weighing 3 kilos from, what do they tell them? I bought them somewhere in the Ogravet, but it's quite pricey. So don't go there. What you do, they were selling for me the chick at 115. I will sell to you at 70 shillings. Isn't that not the truth? But remember, they never changed the cockerel. So we are talking of inbreeding and an F2. So they sell the F2 to the farmer. And that is when early chick mortality starts. No issues with the F2 so much, scientifically speaking, because at least they have the genes from the parent stock and from the F1. But it gets more challenging when the second farmer decides they are entrepreneurs. And they also decide, wait a minute, I can also do this. So now we are having, remember this was a brother and a sister mating, giving us this fertilized egg. Now from the chick of this, again they are mating. And then we are getting what? An F3. And they are selling to the next farmer at a slightly lesser price. So they are saying, our neighbor here is greedy. He sold to me at 70, I'm going to do it to you at 50. So the fourth farmer is getting an F4. And before they get the chicks from the incubator into their brooding zone, 40% are dead. And they call you, Mandime, come and help my chicks. How do you improve the genotype? Are you going to really use drugs to change that? The inferiority of the genes, the immunity. Are you getting my point? It's very important to have this discussion with the farmers as we keep moving forward to ensure they understand that it is very important to outsource what they cannot internally produce, so that they can get the guarantee from the hatchery, they can understand genotype, and they can know to a certain level you might not be able to help them get the production they are looking for, if only they have not sourced these chicks from the correct points of source. Up to that point, are we together? The same happens with the layer birds. I know we're having a lot of challenges of that. The broiler birds, they are quite available, so you guys might not understand that because the cost is more on the broiler birds. But talk to experts in Kiambu, talk to experts in Nakuru, Naivasha. They'll tell you getting a layer chick right now is quite a tall order. You have to wait for maybe a month, 2 months, but our farmers don't went to it that much. So you tell a farmer, I'm going to put you on a wait list of 2 months, and they tell you what? You don't want me to rear chicken. My banda is ready, my house is ready, my capital, my feeds are ready, I am doing this. Gafla Binvu, the farmer has Kenchik layer birds in Mombasa, because somebody has connected them somewhere to get day-old chicks. And when they land here, they lose 20% of the chicks, and they come to your shop, or they call you, and they tell you, can you help me? Are we having these challenges? Genotype is very important. We need the farmers to understand there is a reason why you can only source what from where. Because I think to some extent, we are losing so many chicks because of the inbreeding, because of the genotype, because of the problems that are way before the arrival of the chicks, even at the brooder level. And that's why I was asking, where should we start this topic discussion from? And I realized it is way back than what we are thinking here. So every time you visit a farmer, take the history, ask them, where did you source your chicks from? When they are the kienyeji bird farmers, ensure you can also have the genotype discussion. And during this discussion, what we are telling them is, maybe after a year, you need to sell off all your cockerels. Maybe after 2 years, you need to do away with any male bird in your flock. That is how you help the farmer to ensure the genotype issue is well addressed, so that you don't have inbreeding. So you don't have the kienyeji farmer losing birds. When it comes to genotype, it cuts across from the hybrid to the local. So let us understand this topic and let us know that genetics might be one of the sources of early chick mortality. The next issue, after you have sorted the source of the chicks, the next issue we need to discuss is the housing. And just to close on the genetics, just to bring the point home, I keep asking people that it's not possible for any hybrid to be crossed and to attain the production capacity of the parent stock. We know that. Any hybrid. There's a reason why it is an hybrid. They have made sure the production genes are at the highest, but they are making sure that that cannot be shifted to the next generation. Think about it. Why would anybody take 20, 50 years to come up with the broiler bird and allow you to cross it here in Kenya? Why would the hatcheries go out of their way to import parent stock all the way from Czech Republic, all the way from France? You know how expensive it is to import a day-old chick, and what you need to do to ensure it lands here while it is still alive. So it's not possible to cross, or for the farmer to do what they are trying to do to attain the same production levels. Think about maize. Which maize are we planting? I know it's planting season, and we have agrovets. We have hybrid maize. How comes the farmer must come back to collect more hybrid maize every time, every planting season? Haven't they tried to get some maize, put them somewhere to dry and replant? Have they been able to have the same production as their previous? Is it possible? Yes, I think that is a more practical way to look at it, because at least you can see the maize production. At one time you are doing 20 bags an acre, take that maize, replant it, and see whether you will end up with 5 bags. And if you are not ending up with 5 bags of maize, then even genotypically speaking, on the day-old chicks, you must get them from the source, so that you end up with an F and F1, the most productive or producing hybrid birds. Poultry housing. We have to discuss the house that the birds must be kept in. And in poultry housing, we have what we call the battery cage system, we have the free-range system, we have the semi-free range system, and we do have the deep litter system. I know this is not new to you, so we are just passing by. The battery cage system is quite efficient, intensive in terms of the birds you can keep, but we all know that it has its shortcomings. The initial cost required is very high, and we also know that there are some diseases associated with battery cage system, but production disease management is quite on the lower side. Free range system, I know we have seen this at our grandparents' houses. Yeah? There is nothing to talk about. You wake up in the morning and everybody is on their way to hustle. If they come back, we praise the Lord. If they don't come back, there's not much to ask. And you can see at home, even your grandparents, do they ask so much? At one point you go home and they have 50 chicks. The next day they have 41. The ego has gone away with a few. But there's nobody really worried about them so much, because there is very little input. So the output expected is also very little. But again, we have to understand how the system works and try to push those farmers into the semi-free range system, whereby at least you have an enclosed area where you can give the birds some medication, where you can do supplementation, but still allow the birds to to move around. The semi-free range system is way better, especially for the improved birds, improved kienyeji. The semi-free range system is also better for the kienyeji birds. It is actually what we would like to advocate for rather than the free range system. The deep litter system is the most common. I know everybody in this house has been able to see this and probably has advised on the same. The only issue is on the measurements, the housing plan, and how it's supposed to be done. That is a deep litter system house. I'm hoping we have all seen this. What I would like you to appreciate, there's so much light coming from that side, so it's becoming quite tricky for you to see. But can you guys see clearly? Can you see clearly? There's a jogo somewhere there. Can you be able to see it? It's pink. We can't see the jogo. I'll show it to you. So ensure that you can see that. What I want you to appreciate is the setting of the house, the spacing of the house. What I want you to appreciate is the spacing of the feeders, the spacing of the drinkers. What I want you to appreciate is the color of the drinkers, the color of the feeders. We are coming up with very funny colors for drinkers and feeders. And I'm asking myself, do we know the colors? Why we have always stuck with the yellow and the red? So before you come up with your purple color and your blue color for drinkers, before the farmer is too innovative, let us always discuss why we have always stuck with the yellow and why we have always stuck with the red. So that is how our deep litter system looks. It's very cheap to bring up. It's very cheap, rather economical to set up. It is the most practiced locally. It is the most appreciated worldwide. In the whole world, this is the system they would like you to keep your birds in because of animal welfare issues. That is the battery cage system. I know most of you have seen this. We are most using it for the layer birds, and it's quite intensive. And it's quite economical when it comes to management. The labor required here is very little, but the initial cost is what keeps most of the farmers off. But in the end, you can recoup on that investment. What I would like to highlight on this note is, and I hope everybody understands, is why we are having a very big influx of the battery cage system. And we also need to understand that animal welfare is a very big factor these days, and animal welfare is not advocating for this system, though it's still okay. We can still have these eggs. I believe in the future, just like the Western countries, we are going to have the eggs clearly labeled. This is from battery cage system. This is from deep litter system. The deep litter system eggs are going to fetch a higher price. The organic eggs are also going to fetch a way higher price. So it will be more of which level do you want to pick. I think as we speak, we know that one of the big supermarkets in Kenya has a charter that starts in 2030. They are only going to be selling eggs from deep litter system, or rather, they will not be having battery cage system eggs in their stores. Which supermarket is that? You have it here in Mombasa. So you can be sure it's going to affect any layer bird producer. Do we know? Somebody has made it very clear that from 2030, 2032, they might not have any eggs from battery cage system in their stores. So this is something that we have to be up with the trends to understand what is happening. We need to ask ourselves, why is this system becoming so common in the country? It's because the Western countries are actually doing away with this system because of this policy that is coming in of battery cage systems. And that is why you are seeing they are all coming into East Africa, into Africa, because now they are pushing them these sides based on that. But this is not to scare off the farmers. It is just to tell them that they need to understand that they may not be able to sell their eggs in some places. They might still sell their eggs in other places. And as usual, we will always appreciate that. But ensure that before a farmer invests, they understand the trends. Nagoja mtu aniambie the supermarket, I give them a present. Bado uja Google? Kafo? Oh, me Google mwandime. Yes. So there's a charter on that. Just go and read about it so that you are also up on the trends. And that means that they will only accept eggs from free range system. Rather, the deep litter system. Housing. Help the farmer prepare the house. The farmers always ignore this aspect. What we have seen in most homes is that farmers will always build their homes. They will buy land. They will build their houses on the highest level. They will build other structures. And once they are done is when they plan on the chicken house. And that is why the chicken house will always be somewhere on the leeward side of their land. The housing will always be done somewhere downhill. What happens when it rains? What happens when it rains? I had a farmer somewhere in Kiambu during the recent rains, the El Nino type of rain, who lost 5,000 birds when they were 4 months old. All of them. They all drowned because their house was right down there. The drainage was not well checked, so it rained heavily until the flooding water just got into the house and just swamped up the birds. I want you to think about 5,000 birds, not just the initial cost. I want you to think about the feeds those birds have actually taken in to attain 4 months. They were almost starting to lay. How much of an investment is that? It's quite a good amount. All because of drainage factors. So ensure you help the farmer. If possible, tell the farmer, I would like to come and see your house. I would like to come and see your banda. Don't just sit on the aggravate and keep dispensing and dispensing until the farmer comes back crying. Telling you, you know, what happened last time, something happened to my birds, I am no longer a poultry farmer. And this comes because of the poultry housing. 2, the design and ventilation of the house is very important. It must be open-sided. The floor should be plastered, must be bird and rat proof, must have a foot dip with a disinfectant. In this case, I'm talking about Biosec and Phenosol in it. It should be rectangular in shape, east-west orientation. I know you understand all these factors. East-west orientation is because of the sun, to ensure that when the sun rises, it is blocked by the wall. When the sun is on the roof, it is blocked by the roof. When the sun sets, it's clearly blocked by the other wall on the western side. Not south and north orientation, east and west, to prevent the direct sun. Ensure the farmers understand this. The other issue is that the side walls should be at least 8 feet. These houses they are building, which are 1 foot tall, the ventilation is not very good. So ensure that you talk to the farmer and they have something very close to that. In real sense, that is the kind of housing we are talking about. East, so that when the sun is on this side, it's clearly blocked. When the sun is on top of the roof, it's clearly blocked, and on the other side. Then we are talking about 8 foot high, 3 foot wall, 5 foot clear. Here in Mombasa, you can go as extreme as having the whole wall on the sides not having any solid wall. It will still be efficient. Why? Because of the heat. Because you want more ventilation, you want more aeration. And here in Coast, we would always advocate for the houses to be quite tall so that they can have free air circulation based on the weather patterns. It's very important. The house must be at least 10 meters wide, or rather that 3 foot. We have no issues with the length. We have never had any issues with the length. The house can be as long as possible. We have issues with the wind. Who knows the reason? Who knows the reason? Yes? Feeders and drinkers placement. Somebody else to take an educated guess why we would have an issue with the width of the house but not the length of the house. Why we are very specific that it's either 10 meters or less. It's either 33 feet or less. We don't want an 11-meter wide house. We want a 10-meter wide house. It can be 9. It can be 1. But we are advocating for not more than 10 meters in width. Any takers? Educated guess? You can say hi to everybody. I'm sure these are your colleagues if you have no answer. Say hi. Somebody on that side who might know. These are factors that we have to consider. It is because of the aeration. From a scientific view, it has been shown that when the wind is coming in from the side, it might be able to travel up to 5 meters on this side, and from the other side, it might be able to travel 5 meters, so they meet at 10 meters. Anytime you have a bigger width of a house, it means that there will be an area within the house where we'll have stale air. There will be no air circulation that will help the birds. And based on the humidity of this place or the humidity in any house, you want to have a clear airflow. And look at the farmers who have bigger houses like this. this hall we are in is too wide. You'll find that fresh air will move from this side of the house to somewhere here. Fresh air from that side will get to somewhere here, and you'll always have some bars that lack uniformity, or bars that look diseased, or bars that not fitting efficiently because they are somewhere in between. And you want to have a fresh, clear aeration zone and a hanging roof so that dense air, or rather carbon dioxide air, will always go up, while fresh air will always come down. It's very important to understand that, so that when the farmer asks you, why do you want me to have this kind of a house, you can actually explain to them. So that the farmer who is sitting on a 50 by 100 plot, and they have actually a wall, and they have actually just put a flat roof, you can be able to tell them, we need to compensate for the aeration by just pushing in on the other wind and ensuring that we do not have a solid wall. We need to have fresh air. What I always do when I visit farms, I make sure that I do not get to any poultry house without the farmer. Some farmers are very shrewd. They know the amount of ammonia in their birds, in their bird houses, so they never go there. They send the workers, and when you go there as the vet, they tell you the house is on that side. And I tell them, I'm not going there. We have to go together. And when you go there, give them a lot of stories while you are inside the house, so that they can sneeze, so that they can sweat. Just hang in there and keep talking. And when they want to leave, just keep trying to touch the feeders and the drinkers and telling them, you know this, you know that, and see what happens. They'll run away. Then you ask them, how do you expect these chicks to grow? How are you expecting these chicks to increase in weight? How are you expecting these chicks not to have an increased mortality? As I have said, it's very important to be practical. So tell the farmer, let us go to your chicken house and spend some time there. If you cannot take tea in your chicken house, there's a problem. And when you look at that house, you don't need to visit it. We can all agree the ventilation is sufficient. We can all agree we can take tea in that house. So it is very important for you to understand that and to let the farmer understand that, so that we are all on the same page. When you talk about the foot bath, it should always be next to the door. As I have said, we do have some disinfectants. We have Biosec, which is a light-duty disinfectant from Atlantis. We do have Phenosol, which is an heavy-duty disinfectant. Phenosol, we recommend it for the foot bath. We recommend it when there is disease and you want to clear the house. You can always full use that. When you want to do some disinfection, when even the poultry, the chicken are in the house, you can always use Biosec. It's very safe and it's quite efficient. It has the quaternary ammonium compound. It also has glutaraldehyde, and it also has the new molecule isopropanol alcohol, which actually helps in killing the viruses, killing the bacteria in as short as 5 to 30 minutes. Isopropanol alcohol is basically sanitizer. I know during COVID we have not about sanitizer. Do we know sanitizer? What's the one feature about it? We really sold a lot of sanitizers for the people who are in that business, because we did not know so much about it until we were told it can kill the coronavirus in 8 seconds. Yeah, so any new disinfectant we are seeing in the market, there's innovation. So now we are putting it in there so that we can guarantee instant death of germs or viruses or fungi. So when you see isopropanol alcohol, just know that that's an invention from the corona times, and that is why any new disinfectant might actually have this component, and is very good for the poultry farmers. Moving on, equipment. Feeders and drinkers should be well spaced, 30 to 50 birds per round feeder and drinker. Ensure that there's a heat source, ensure that there's a thermometer, ensure that there are brooder materials. I'm going very fast. Brooding. I think this is where the topic was based, brooding. Rather than understanding what will cause early chick mortality, it would be better that we understand how to do the correct brooding, so that we can be able to advise the farmer and ensure that we are not stuck on the treatment always. Let us understand how best we can handle the brooding so that we are able to rescue the farmer from losing the birds. Anytime a farmer brings birds and they are losing more than 5% of the birds, they are not going to be profitable. It doesn't matter how much they sell the birds at, because the market is saturated with other farmers. So you can't really raise the pricing to a certain level. So what you need to do is to ensure that the farmer can actually take to market 98% of their birds, maybe 99% of their birds, if possible 100% of their birds, rather than the farmer taking to market 80% of their birds. That is when they start making losses and they have to dig deeper into their pockets to bring the next batch of birds. Brooding is the period between day 0 and day 14. This is the time you are most needed by the chicks. It is the most important time in a bird's life. Just like, let's say, childbirth. This is the most important time because these birds cannot regulate their body temperature. These birds do not know where they are. They have just hatched from the egg. Probably they have been jabbed with a few vaccines, and then they are going to be landing somewhere. Most of the time, maybe from Nairobi, sometimes maybe from Malindi. The distance, the stress they are encompassing, and then they get there. So you need to know the brooding time is the most important time in a bird's life. And mistakes made during this critical time may be irreversible and negatively affect the performance of the entire flock of the birds. So again, you need to work with the farmer. You need to tell the farmer the birds will be arriving here tomorrow at 10 a.m. So that at 8 a.m., they start putting on the light. They start putting on the heat source. They start preparing. They ensure that they have disinfected the house before the birds arrive. It's very important to have that communication. I've worked in an agrovet, and sometimes we would bring the birds as early as 9 a.m. And a farmer would come to collect the birds just before you close. And they would just keep asking you, when are you closing? When are you closing? And you can imagine those birds where they have come from. They have landed in Mombasa. They are sitting there in that heat. The ventilation is not good. They have not eaten anything, and they sit there for a whooping 10 hours. And when the farmer picks them up, gets them home, then they call you and they told you, I've just lost 50 birds. And they are worried what has happened. And the first thing to blame is, and we are helping them blame the hatcheries. I don't want to work in an hatchery. The blame game happening at the hatchery level is on the high note. Because anytime professionals like us cannot sort out a problem, we always, because the farmers are quite ignorant, we are willing to tell them, hii ni shida ya hatchery. See, it is the truth. So we need to really ask ourselves, how long did it take for the birds to get here? And how fast did the farmer pick these birds? And how prepared was the farmer at the farm level awaiting to receive these birds? As I said, it's like childbirth. You need to be prepared. You need to have the clothes ready. You need to have booked an hospital. You need to know how I will get myself to that hospital. These are the preparations that must happen during brooding. These are the preparations you have to discuss with the farmer to prepare earlier than the day they are getting the day-old chicks. As I said, for the first 4 to 5 days, the birds cannot regulate their own body temperature, and it is not actually complete until day 14. And that means if it gets cold, the birds get cold. If it gets too hot for your case here, the birds get too hot. This affects organ development. We are already into the topic, right? This affects organ development. That is why your farmers will end up with telling you, I'm losing the biggest of my flock from heart attack later. And then you are wondering, what is happening? What is that attack? It is because the heart never developed to its capacity in the first 14 days. You are wondering, why can this bird just be, and why am I losing the biggest flock towards the end? It is because the internal organs are so small, they can't support the increase in the body mass. And we keep feeding these birds with a lot of protein, a lot of energy. We are trying to attain a weight of 2 kilos in day 35. What do you think is happening? The body mass is growing, but the internal organs never grow. And once growth and development is done, they can't grow at day 21. It always has to happen within the first 10 to 14 days. So ensure you take care of these birds during that period. The other part is that immune system development happens in the first 7 days. The large animal, colostrum, For how many hours should the calf take colostrum so that it is important and it helps in immunity development? For the first? For the first? For the first 3 days. Somebody else? Colostrum. To get maximum benefit from colostrum. Large animal now. I know we have vets across board. We have not really specialized that much. Sindio, we are also treating cows, we are also treating goats, we are also treating sheep. Do we know? The first 6 hours, they are very important. After birth of a calf, you want it to be given colostrum in the first 6 hours, so that it absorbs antibodies from the colostrum, so that from there it is able to sustain itself and start producing antibodies and supporting its immunity. In the birds, again, is the same case. If the immunity is not developed in the first 14 days, and actually is the best during the first 7 days, you are going to have issues and early death of the birds. Again, housing, what does the chick need? Optimum temperature. Optimum temperature. 2, they require ventilation. 3, they require water. 4, they require feeds. 5, they require spacing. They require light. And last but not least, they require supplementation. Artificial brooder, I know we have taken farmers through this. You need to be able to come up with an artificial brooder. Don't use the whole house to do brooding. Ensure your farmers understand this. You can put up a curtain on both sides of the house. Separate the brooding area using double curtains. Ensure that you create a buffer zone. Set the brooder. Lay the floor at least 65% with feed. As we said, the birds do not have their mother to be able to guide them. When you look at the kienyeji bird, there is a way it behaves when it hatches chicks. Have we been able to observe very keenly the kienyeji bird? It will always hide the birds when it is too cold. It will allow the birds to go out when it is too hot. It makes sure that it creates a certain noise to show the birds where the feeds are. So we always have to imagine that we have picked these day-old chicks and they are away from their mother. We are basically now their mother. So we need to produce and ensure that the best is available for them. So the ventilation, as I've said, has to be right. The aeration has to be right. The feeds have to be there. And that is why we are saying 65% of the ground should be covered with feed during the first 3 days. Because the birds cannot be sure where the drinker is, where the feeder is. And during this time, we want their brain to develop very fast, the immune to develop very fast, so that they can be self-sufficient. That is how it should look. Again, I'm still wondering whether you guys can see. Can you really see? It is quite blurry, right? Tunaona vizuri? Daktari? Hauoni? You can use your imagination because you have been in these places before. That is a brooder, and it's just, I try to make sure that I did not share a picture of a brooder of the plywood, which always entails some few birds, maybe 200, 500, 1,000. And I wanted to ask you, how many birds do you think are going to be in that brooder? What you are seeing is a brooder. It's not a chicken house that they are going to live in when they are big. This is a brooder. They are going to be there for the first 7 days, and then we start looking for other houses to take these birds. So how many birds do you think this farmer is receiving? How many day-old chicks? Yeah? Over 5,000. That is the biggest number you can imagine, Mwandime. 5,000, that house. Look at the second picture. Who has a bigger number in their head? Yes? 20,000. Somebody else? We sell day-old chicks, right? So, this house, how many chicks can it fit? Yes? 10,000. Okay. That house was expecting more than 100,000 day-old chicks. So it's very important for you as the professional to be able to advise the farmer accordingly and ensure that they understand they are bigger farmers. so that they can keep growing. But if the biggest number we can imagine is 10,000, then there's a problem of our imagination. So let's stretch it a little bit. This farmer is expecting 100,000. I've seen 2 or 3 farmers place an order for chicks, 100,000. I know what my friend is thinking. 100,000 times 10. Is it times 10 or times 20? Mumekuwa watu wa biashara kabisa. I can see the numbers coming into your head. If they were to place 100,000 and I just get a commission of a certain amount, you're a millionaire. Just like that. So it's possible. It's possible. Again, brooding. When chicks arrive, provide them with clean water and always provide them with vitamins, provide them with an energy or rather a glucose source, provide them with probiotics, provide them with electrolytes, and ensure we can stop the issue of antibiotics at this juncture. Let us agree as professionals that a day-old chick does not require antibiotics. It's something we have always done, it's something we have been doing for the longest time, but we all agree antibiotics are to cure. What are you curing at this point? As you tell the farmer, you need this, you need this, you need this. This antibiotic we are giving, what is it curing? I've always never gotten an answer to that. Most of the time we say it's to prevent. To prevent what? Who is walking around with amoxicillin in their pocket? Here. Who is walking around with Amprolium or amoxicillin or any kind of antibiotic in their pocket? For just in case. Before you say the day-old chicks require antibiotics, answer me that question. Whose handbag here has antibiotics without a prescription? Do you have? You might have a paracetamol, right? We might have a paracetamol. But do you really have antibiotics there? Can we agree, going forward, we will not prescribe any product with antibiotics at day 1. It's not healthy for the birds, it's not healthy for us, it's not healthy for anybody. Because antibiotics are to kill what? Microorganisms. It does not spare. It kills both pathogenic and non-pathogenic microorganisms. A day-old chick, a 0-old chick is actually very sterile in the gut. And what you want to do is help that bird by ensuring that the gut is colonized by beneficial bacteria. How do you ensure it is colonized by beneficial bacteria if you are giving an antibiotic to kill all the bacteria? Are we getting the essence? And if a day-old chick stays without any bacteria colonizing the digestive system, it is a sure bet that as the bird eats, as the birds drink water, then it will attract pathogenic bacteria. You do not require an antibiotic. You require probiotics, prebiotics, so that they can colonize the gut, so that they can improve the immunity of the day-old chick, so that they can ensure the bird digestion happens well. They can improve the bioavailability of feeds, so that the bird's immunity is actually complete by the time they attain day 7. And in this regard, I'm saying, as Atlantis Life Science, we do have a vitamin source. It's called the Vigo Chick Start. I think you can see it at the back there, or rather on the picture. The Vigo Chick Start contains all the vitamins you might need. It also contains glucose. Can we leave glucose for high school kids to consume? Can we have a product that contains all these things at once? Sawa. So you do not need to give glucose on the side. This product, the excipient, is actually dextrose. And dextrose is glucose. So you do not need to give glucose at all. Just give Vigo Chick Chick Starter. It is very yellow. I know for the campers in the house like me, we are very happy about this product. And we are sure the farmers can benefit from it. Again, you need to give the birds probiotics. Probiotics rather than antibiotics. And one of our probiotics is Vigorex. It's the green product you can see there. I know most of you have actually been able to meet and interact with this product. Gut health is very important. Our gut health is very important. If you move around, you'll be able to see some billboards. Have you seen billboards of a certain yogurt that is being advertised? What is the feature of this new yogurt that we are getting in the market? At least somebody has an answer here. Yes? Yes. Who have seen that yogurt? Kuongea imetushinda lakini tuinue mikono. Hata kama hujaona. Labda ndakuonyesha. Yes, there's a certain yogurt for human consumption, and they are really asking us to ensure that we take it purely because of the probiotics, improves digestion, improves gut health, and ensures that we are okay, and we do not need to keep taking antibiotics every now and then, because probiotics have actually been found to be very beneficial to us and to the birds. So, for your day-old chicks, ensure that you prescribe Vigo Chick Start, and also prescribe Vigorex for the probiotics. Vigorex contains probiotics, prebiotics, enzymes. It has enzymes inside. Why are enzymes important for a day-old chick? Because all monogastrics are not able to digest their feeds in totality. I know we'll be having another topic of FCR, and we might discuss this, and you will realize that for ruminants, you are able to give them any type of feed, and they are able to digest it and get what they might need in the body, one way or the other, because of the four stomachs and the bacteria in the body. But for the monogastrics, you must supplement. And you need a product that has probiotics, prebiotics, enzymes to ensure that they assist in digestion and to also improve immunity at this level. Organ development is very important also. Last but not least, electrolytes. Electrolytes. What are electrolytes? Do you understand electrolytes? Electrolytes. Your birds require electrolytes because of the stress, because of loss of water, to ensure that they are able to stabilize and retain water in their body. This is what is causing dehydration in them, especially here in Mombasa. Ensure that the product you are giving the birds actually contains potassium, contains sodium, contains magnesium. Those three electrolytes are very essential. So just go through the shop, check the products that you have, and ensure they contain all those things to be able to support your day-old chick. Then the other issue is ensure that you monitor temperature. At day 1, the temperatures should be within 33 to 35. I think right now the temperatures are already within that range here where we are. So do you guys require a jiko? Do you guys require a jiko? You require a fan rather. To cool the birds down. So in week 2, we want the temperatures to be within 29 to 32. In week 3, we want 26 to 29. And when we are talking about especially the layer birds, by week 4, we want 22 to 25 temperatures. Ensure that your farmers have a digital thermometer, tafadhali. How many of us have digital thermometers in our agrovets? How many of us sell digital thermometers? Now you have at least we have a few. If we have one, we are good, because we can always learn from that one. So I'm very happy when I see a few hands. When you realize nobody is raising hands, just raise your hand whether you have it or not, so that you can encourage the rest. So I'm very happy we have 2 or 3 people there. Don't leave the farmer in the olden days where they kept guessing, what is the temperature right now? How is it going? Give them a digital thermometer, they place it in the house, and they just need to read and interpret. But if they are not able to do that, still common sense prevails. Still common sense? Yes, that is common sense. That is on common sense. Because you can clearly see, if all the chicks are just below the heat source, there is a problem. If all the chicks are running away from the heat source, there is a problem. If they are evenly distributed, we are happy. I know, and I have seen, I have experienced these 2 farmers coming to the agrovets to seek medication. How many have seen these farmers coming to the agrovet to seek medication? These photos have been brought to an agrovet, and the farmer is asking, how do I treat this? For one reason or the other, the farmer left the agrovet with some medication. Is that farmer supposed to go home with some medication? Haezi toka bure, si ndio? Eh? Anaweza kuja atoke bure kweli. Na ametoka Shanzu. Eh? There's a behavior farmers have. As I've said, I've worked in an agrovet before. And if you give them day-old chicks, they go home, they do everything you have told them to do, for some reason or the other, especially teachers and bankers and people who work in town. Once they close shop at 4 or they come from school at 4, instead of going home, they always pass through the agrovet. And they say, hi, Daktari. And you say, hi, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. You know we are doctors. The only reason a client would call you is when they are in problems. Is there any farmer who calls you just to see how you are doing? So when you see a farmer, the first thing is what is going on with the birds. Because you picked the birds 2 days ago. Then the farmer tells you, no, everything is okay. But they are not leaving the shop. They are still standing there. That farmer needs companionship, not drugs. Because they have told you the birds are okay. And then they tell you, what can I give them? Most times they always say, ni dawa gani naweza kaa nayo just in case. Is this a practical case? Is this a practical case? More times than not, right? Lakini sisi ni nani? Instead of offering companionship and some stories, what do? We put something on the shelf. And we say, this is good. No. We have to ensure we send this farmer home. And we tell them, go check on your heat source. Go check on whether the heat source is still functioning or not. Buy a thermometer, ensure that you support. Again, during brooding, you need to ensure that there's light. On the first day, don't switch off the lights. On the second day, and keep increasing the dark hours on the go. There are farmers who want to switch off the lights on the first day. The birds are still acclimatizing. As we have said, we have picked these birds. They are not with their mothers. They are depending on themselves. And you have to ensure that you let them acclimatize to the new place they are in. So that is the reception on the first day. Second day to fifth day, at least switch off the lights maybe 1 hour and keep increasing that way until they attain some 6 hours of darkness, so that their hormonal growth can happen, organ development can happen, and they can also rest. And then from there, the birds will be okay to sustain themselves. On the third topic on nutrition, there is not much talk about here. Ensure that you have good quality feed, balanced to meet the requirements of the bird. Feed provided in a manner to allow the chicks accessibility, avoid spillage and wastage. Form of feed is always in mash, crumbs, or pellets. Always work out on your feed conversion ratio. It's very important. For the broiler birds, I was slightly biased on the broiler birds in this presentation because I know this is what most of us have here. We have the 2 tiers. One is the starter, day 1 to day 21, finisher, day 22 to cropping, or rather harvesting. Then we have the 3 stage. I think now we have millers coming up with the grower stage in the broiler bird feeding, day 1 to day 10, day 11 to 25, and then day 26 to harvesting. Anytime you are feeding your birds, kindly supplement your birds. The nutrition we are getting from the feeds, most times than not, might not be enough. Tell your farmers to supplement your birds. Ensure that you have some vitamins, you have some amino acids, you have some electrolytes to support your birds, and in all that, we have a few products on that as Atlantis. I think you can be able to appreciate them, like the Chickstars we have talked about, like the Vigorex, and we also have the Solvita, especially during times of stress. Nutrition again. Broiler birds, you need to weigh your broilers every now and then, or rather even your layers, to see whether they are increasing in weight gain. And once you place the chicks, ensure that you ask the farmer to touch the crop using the thumb and the index finger and see whether it is filling up, so that they can tell whether the feed is palatable. Because these days we are coming up with funny feeds whereby the farmer just formulates their own feeds and gives the birds. And I've visited a farmer who had stayed with day-old chicks for 2 days. And none of the chicks had even fed on 1 grain of the feed. It was not palatable. And that farmer is wondering, why are my birds dying? So it's very, very important. You ask the farmer, what's the source of your feeds? If they are buying from you, it's very easy for you to analyze that. But if the farmer is not buying any feeds from you, can you confirm the birds are feeding? Sawa sawa? Because some of the mixtures we are having there and doing them at home, they are not palatable. And you find that the crop is empty. So you can always check by squeezing it a little bit. 2 hours after letting the chicks settle in the brooder, go back and check. Again, 2 hours, check again. And ensure at least 10% or 5% of the birds have their crop filled up. That shows the feed is palatable and they are feeding. These are some of the management features that you have to do. Again, when you are giving feeds, don't give too much, whereby you are saying, I want to give once and stay the whole day. The birds will actually not be attracted to the birds. So ensure that you give a little bit every time, and you keep topping it up so that it is always fresh. Same for water. Same for water. Birds do not like stale water, whereby the water has overstayed there for a very long time. It starts becoming bitter, and sometimes they do not drink it. So I always advise the farmers, you should advise the farmers that they need to put just a little bit of water and keep changing it probably every 3 hours and giving fresh water. You will see the birds taking more water during that period if you do that exercise. The broiler bird, we are supposed to attain a weight of around 175 to 185 grams by day 7. In the field, we realize that the birds are weighing around 150 to 175 grams by day 7, which is acceptable. But anything below 150 grams is not acceptable at day 7. There is a problem. So at day 7, ask the farmer, what is the weight of your birds? Ensure the farmer buys you need to yes? Weighing scale. Yes. The large scale farmers will try to use that weighing scale ya kupima mahindi na mbolea, kupima 100 grams. It will not show. Ask the farmer to invest. As you ask the farmer to invest, bring these things to the shop. Tell the farmer, this is what you need. And bundle it together. I keep telling practitioners, learn to bundle things together. Mnajua bundling together? Nani amepeleka mama maternity of late? Hiyo hamtainua mkono. My point home is, these days there is no cost for the delivery, there is no cost for the aftercare. It is coming as what? What is it coming as in the bigger hospitals? It's a package. They are saying the whole thing will cost you 50,000. You are asking, what is this whole thing? And they're telling you the whole delivery. Have you realized that? Who has seen that of late? They don't want to break it down. They want it to be wholesome. Because they don't want to get into this discussion whereby for 1 minute you have purchased what you need, for the second minute you have not, and then you are coming back to say, I'm not okay. So it is a package. From when you are delivering to when you leave our hospital, you are going to pay 60,000, 20,000, 100,000. It's a package. And that is what we are advocating for. As you give your farmer day-old chicks, make a bundling up package so that they are able to go home with everything that they might need. So again, in the layers, we are targeting 50 to 60, potential 60 grams and above, but we are having birds that are 45 grams by day 7, which is actually detrimental to the bird. Remember, the birds are coming in at around 40 grams. So one bird is coming in at 40, and by day 7, it is actually 175 grams. The other one is coming in at 40, and by day 7 is actually at around 60 to 70 grams. And my question on this farmer is this. When you tell a layer bird farmer that starter cramps are very good, and they are going to be they are going to have a very fast growth in layer birds or improved birds, what are we thinking? The common rationale out there is that farm weight by day 7, the other one, ideally, is supposed to stick to around 10 to 20% from 40 to 60 grams, but you are exchanging the feeds. And that is where we are having challenges with the layer birds in the future. Organ development. I know we are scientists, but we have not done that engineering to that level. Because if the layer bird, who is supposed to live for 2 years plus, the organs do not develop well in the first days because you have accelerated the body weight. Then they start straining the body weight. In terms of pumping blood, in terms of metabolism, we are going to have a challenge. Let the bird grow gradually. Do not accelerate. Otherwise, it will affect the production later on. Again, nutrition, broiler target performance. Day 7, the bird should have fed around 140 to 150 grams. Target weight, 180 to 190 grams. We are going to discuss this in the FCR, so there's no problem. I'll keep skipping this because I know there's a topic on FCR whereby we can discuss. This is what I was talking about. The broiler birds, high protein, high energy, fast growth. You give that to the layer bird and we have a problem because look at the chick mash or the layer chick up to 8 weeks. We are talking about moderate protein, moderate energy in the feeds. But when you look at the broiler chicks, we are giving high protein. This inconsistency is what is causing problems later in the layers, whereby they are not laying, they are having challenges even attaining their maximum weight. Ensure that a broiler gets broiler feeds, ensure that a layer gets layer feed, and also improved kienyeji. Measures of controlling diseases in chicks. Again, the topic was early chick mortality, so we are still discussing how to control diseases, and the first way of controlling diseases is biosecurity. Biosecurity is very important. Ensure that nobody can get in to the production site. Ensure that the farmer understands when you are doing poultry keeping, it is not somewhere to have a meeting. It's not somewhere to have a meeting with other farmers because of disease outbreak. So disinfection is important. When we talk about disinfection is wash, dust the house, spray the house with Biosec, ensure that there's a foot bath. You can put in phenosol in the foot bath and close the door. When you bring the wood shavings, disinfect them again with Biosec, put them on the floor, close the house. When you bring the day-old chicks, ensure that the drinkers, the feeders, they are disinfected and put them in the house. Every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, ensure the drinkers and the feeders are disinfected again. Do we understand that? That is how you prevent disease. It is very important that we have a paradigm shift. I know as vets, we are really known for our treatment. That is what we strive on. But these days, we have to ensure that it's a hard health approach. Talk to the farmer. Somebody told me, how do we get money out of this? Once I have told the farmer to use a Vigo Chick Start, I've told the farmer to use Vigorex, and the farmer is using quality feeds, quality chicks. Do they really need you? They do need you. You need to keep checking. You need to keep evaluating. It's very important. But we can't stick to the area whereby the farmer has to lose 3 birds for us to treat, and then we get back on the wagon. Now we have to ensure that there is clean flow, and the farmer does not lose the birds. And any vet who is not going to adjust in that nature, we are going to have so many challenges because treatment cannot be the only way we help a farmer. Sawa sawa? Yes, you need to start talking about retainers. Who knows how to ask about retainers? Consultancy fee. Have you been paid consultancy fee anywhere? Approach the farmer and ask them. I told somebody, let's approach this farmer. They are doing broiler birds. And I'm saying approach the farmer and tell them, from when you bring the day-old chicks to when you harvest, this is how much money you are making. If only I can make your birds attain an extra 200 grams and we sell per kilo, let's split the profit. Do you think that would work? Tell the farmer you are losing 10% of your birds. It's clear. Because these days the farmers have records. I will make sure you only lose 5%. For the 5% birds that you have not lost, can I have a share of that? Is it possible to work that out? Is it possible? So that now you are more involved in the hard health approach. You are more involved in everyday activity. It is not just going there to treat. You can pass by a farmer's place and tell them, I am here to check how the birds are doing. They are not sick, nothing is going on, I'm just here for a checkup. Si tunaendaga checkup kwa hospitali, do we pay for it? Do you think farmers can pay for hospital and can't pay for their entrepreneurship? It depends with the approach. Anyway, I was talking about stress in day-old chicks. Stress. Birds don't want to be stressed. Neither do human beings. So, why they need to manage stress in day-old chicks? Reduced feed intake, resulting in body weight loss, increased respiration, panting, reduced growth rate and feed intake, poor feed conversion efficiency, reduced fertility, decreased egg production, increased mortality. Stress causes increased mortality. Ensure the birds are not stressed at any one point of their life. Again, stress reduces immunity. So ensure that you help the birds with this. Again, weight gain might be affected by stress. So ensure the birds are not stressed at all. And I can tell you from where I'm standing, I'm already stressed by this weather. So let's talk about the birds at home. Let's talk about the day-old chicks. Those birds are in constant stress. So you need to ensure that you support these birds on the go and put them on anti-stress on a continuous basis. Because one, they are losing a lot of electrolytes. When they lose electrolytes, they are not able to feed well. If they are not feeding well, they can't add weight. If they are not adding weight, the farmer is not benefiting. So ensure that you manage stress in birds. What would cause stress in day-old chicks? One is transport. Let us understand transport. How many of you have traveled to Nairobi? This one we can raise hands. How many of us have traveled to Nairobi, especially by road? Wachana na watu wa ndege. By road. How many hours? 7. Yeah? Ukifika huko unataka kuongea na mtu kweli? Ukifika, what happens? Yeah? Umechoka. Even as when we are traveling here, we want to come a day earlier so that you rest. So it is happening. You are stressed. So you can imagine a day-old chick that is coming all the way from Nairobi up to Mombasa. Those birds are very stressed. Or coming from Supreme up to where the farmer is going. Getting here, the farmer not picking up the birds very fast, leaving it there for another 6 hours. Mtu wa pikipiki akuje, carries the birds to the farm. The farmer had not prepared the brooder. So what happens? They put them on the side and they start preparing the brooder. Can we agree just by the mercies of the Lord that the bird is still alive? Yeah? If we were put in the same conditions, we might not be there. Si ni ukweli? So you need to give the bird an anti-stress. It's very important. Temperature. I don't need to emphasize this. We are in Mombasa. This is something I need to emphasize in Limuru and Kericho areas. But temperature, especially then going too high, I think this one you understand very well. Dietary. Change in feed composition. Most of us as practitioners believe change in feed composition means switching from this feed to this feed or switching from starter to finisher. Change in feed composition is actually constant in your birds. I've worked with feed binners before, and I can tell you for money, the formulation is not constant. Because in a minute, soya prices are up. In a minute, cotton seed cake is not available. In a minute, what else is there? We can't get maize bran, maize jam. Do you think there's a day? Have you ever had any company say we can't produce feeds today? Who has ever had a company? They have called the company to get feeds and they have said, Leo, based on the prices of soy, the leaflets that you will see in their shamba the leaflets that you will see in their shamba on antibiotics is worrying. We do not want to give our day-old chicks antibiotics. It is stress system. They need to metabolize, they need to excrete these antibiotics. Which organs are used to excrete and to metabolize antibiotics? The kidney, right? The liver. Are they functioning at day 1? Are they functional at day 1? But here you are with your tylosin. Here you are telling the farmer, 20% is no longer working these days. Let's try 100% on a day-old chick. You are killing the chick. You are causing stress to the chick. Those organs might not even develop to their optimum capacity based on the antibiotics you are giving at day 1. Infections, vaccinations. These days, day-old chicks are being given vaccinations. Marex, we are doing Newcastle at day 1, right? So by the time they are getting to your shop, they are already in stress because vaccines are actually live vaccines and they are already eliciting production of antibodies. And this is like a sickness that is already in the birds. So they are stressed. Overcrowding, visitors. You, the vet, when you go to visit your customers or your farmers, you are a visitor. You are causing stress. Can you minimize your visitations? Can you ask the farmers to minimize the visitations of their friends? They cause stress to the birds. Do we know that? And that is why we are telling all poultry farmers to ensure that they have uniform shoes, uniform dust coats, just to try to lie to the birds a little bit that it is the same person. Are we on the same point? I've gone to a poultry unit whereby we forgot to put on the dust coat. The farmer actually had 3 dust coats, white, and some dust coats that were purple. And so 3 people got the white, some got the purple, and 1 or 2 never got dust coats. And we are going to visit the birds. By our mare getting into the poultry house, the farmer lost 14 birds. That's how serious it is. So no visitors, and everybody has to wear the same clothes. It's very important for the birds. But on top of all that, you need to supplement your birds. The best supplement for stress, we have Solvita. It's a water-soluble supplement containing amino acids, trace elements, and it's a formulation to ensure that during infections and stress, we are able to help our birds. And in that product, I have put the composition there because I've realized that we are not very keen to read at the back of the product. How many of us study the product at the back and understand the composition? How many of us are willing to stop the discussion that all products are the same? It's a vitamin. Wangapi wanasemaga bora vitamin? Tofauti ni bei. Tofauti ni kampuni. Because we don't want to read that. You know, somebody said, if you want to hide something in Africa, just write it down. And that's the ignorance we are using. And yet we are the professionals. We want to sit here and say, all vitamins are the same. We want to sit here and say, all dewormers are the same. We want to sit here and say, all feeds are the same. We want to sit here and say, all chairs are the same. We want to sit here and appreciate that all phones are the same. Because you are using a Techno, now you have to say, bora inapiga simu. When iPhone yako hakuna tofauti. Nothing is the same. Let's agree on that. From today, we agree nothing is the same. Si ni ukweli? Are they the same? Why then do we have composition at the back if all products are the same? My point being, let's study that. Let's look at this. Let's ask ourselves, what are the essential amino acids a bird needs? Methionine and lysine. Does this product contain those 2 products? Then we put a tick against the amino acids. Which are the vitamins that a bird must have in their bodies? And we see vitamin B. We see vitamin C. We see vitamin E. What does vitamin E help with? I've been called by a few farmers and they are saying, my bird is going in rounds and it has torticollis. I think this is Newcastle. And you are wondering, how can a 8-day-old chick have Newcastle? Why is a 5-day-old chick having Newcastle? Is that Newcastle? What is it suffering from? What is it suffering from? Yes? Kumbe nyinyi wale madaktari wa kutibu. Naona kwa magonjwa tumeanza kuwa active. Yes. You will find that the day-old chicks are suffering from vitamin E deficiency. But somebody is diagnosing Newcastle. It's not possible. Why? Because the supplements you are giving do not contain all the minerals and the vitamins that you need. Something like vitamin C is very essential. The development of the brain, that is the soft brain we are getting, that is the stargazing, is coming from vitamin E deficiency. You are looking at the body and there's no magnesium, there's no sulfate, there are no electrolytes. These are the challenges that the farmer is going to have in terms of deficiency. So issue a product that is wholesome, that contains all these minerals, that contains all these vitamins, that contains all these electrolytes to support the bird. Vigo Chick Start, that is our chick starter. And again, I'm really focusing on the composition because from today I want us to discuss the composition. And every time I go to a shop, I tell the shop attendant, can you read at the back? I know some of you don't like me in their shops. You keep asking me, what are you looking for, Daktari? And I will pick 2 products and I will keep telling you, can you look at this, can you look at this? Because the composition will tell you what that product has. And that is how we are able to tell a farmer, this is quality, this is how it is. We are not telling the farmer not to buy this, but we are offering the information. And we are clearly telling them, if you have to buy this, we have to add something else. But this one is a combination of all. So our chick start with this Figo chick start, it's in liquid. Most of the chick starts are in powders. So ours at least is in liquid, because we know powders are not doing very well, especially in the hot weather. Because they might absorb, because of the energy or the glucose, they might be able to absorb some moisture. So we have come up with our liquid Vigo Chick Start. It contains nucleotides. I don't know if you have any product that contains nucleotides. Who knows what nucleotides are? Think of DNA. Think of RNA. Nucleotides. This might be the only product that contains nucleotides in the industry. So go and check the other products that you have. The benefits of nucleotides that they help in immunoglobulin and immune development. They also help in ensuring that the bird's genetic makeup is complete and ensuring that there is good FCR. Look around and see whether you have amino acids in your product. The third one is also of very importance to me, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. How many chick stars do you know that contains omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids? I want you to tell me. Kunayo? Ama hujakuwa ukisoma hapo nyuma? Utaenda kusoma? Yes. So omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, they are very essential. Just to take you back, I will remind you of when we were kids. I don't know who is my age mate here. So I will see, or older. There's a product that we have always given to children called cod liver oil. Who knows cod liver oil? Do you know cod liver oil? At least mzee anajua cod liver oil. Ilikuwa inasaidia nini kwa watoto? Yes? Coughing? Nini ingine? There's something that they always told us about cod liver oil because it is tested in a certain way. Ilikuwa inaonja aje? Yes? That's the right answer. Just shout it out. Samaki. So our parents kept telling us, nini? Inasaidia nini? Mnakumbuka tukiambiwa hii ndio inasaidia akili kudevelop. Na tunaambiwa watu wa Lakeside wako na akili juu wanakula samaki mingi. So now from this side we were being told, now the replica of fish is called liver oil. Unless you do not come from those sides. But there was something around that. Sindio? So cod liver oil is very essential for the brain development. And you'll realize that in our chick start we have been able to insert it there so that we can help in brain development, especially in the first 7 days. Cod liver, or rather omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are also very essential in cortisol reduction. What is cortisol known for? What is cortisol known for? Yes, stress. Anybody who is stressed, cortisol levels are through the roof. So if you want to reduce the cortisol level in the day-old chick, because we have all agreed the day-old chick is stressed, you need to give omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And Vigo Chick Start has that. Again, all the vitamins, I don't need to emphasize on that. ADEC and B complex, they are all in there. Trace elements, they are also in there. Last but not least, energy. When I talk about energy, I'm talking about glucose. That's why I said when you give Vigo Chick Start, you do not need to give glucose. This product is complete. It's going to help the day-old chick and ensure that you have immunity development, organ development, and maximum output at the end of the day. So kindly watch out for that product. I know you have seen it in shops, but maybe you did not understand how it works. Those are indications: chick resistance to stress, improve appetite, feed intake, overcome leg weakness, and the rest. I think we have already gone through that. Then for your birds, we have the Vigo Boost Broiler. Vigo Boost Broiler comes in week 3. What is happening in week 3 and week 4 in the broiler? What is happening? We have switched from the starter to the... So we are finishing. What are we finishing? What are we finishing? Muscle input. Sindio? we want now the bird to do what? To put in weight. And when you want the bird to put in weight, there is something I've told you need to ensure that is actually available, and that something is electrolytes. A lot of electrolytes. Your bird requires electrolytes. So ensure that the product you are using has electrolytes so that the birds can retain more water. More water retained means more feed intake. More feed intake means more conversion into muscle. And you'll actually be able to help the farmer gain. And we do have it from the smallest pack to the biggest pack. I think you can see that there's an emphasis on vitamin B7, biotin, and vitamin E. Vitamin E, I kind of emphasize on that. I think we have discussed. And then now we have the vitamin B7. This is just a product that I wanted to have us to look at as I finalize. It's called Diclovac. Farmers have always had a very big challenge when they are vaccinating their birds. And they have always wondered, how do we remove this chlorine from the water? And how do I know I have vaccinated my birds? So we came up with this product called Diclovac. It's a dechlorinating agent. It removes the chlorine from the water, and it also ensures that the farmer can see through the blue color which chicks have taken in the vaccine and which chicks have not taken in the vaccine. Previously, remember, we used to recommend for the farmers to boil the water. We used to recommend for the farmers to do what? To add skimmed milk to removing the chlorine and the heavy metals. But for now, they do not need to do that. This is an innovative product that is very beneficial to the farmer. So whenever they are vaccinating their birds, ask them to buy Diclovac. It's a powder. It's a 2-gram powder. So rather than doing all that work, they can now go home when they are preparing to vaccinate their bird, get the water, put in the Diclovac. It will dechlorinate the water. It will remove the heavy metals, and then they can put in the vaccine and give it to the birds directly. Is that not a wonderful product? Is that not a wonderful product? At least we agree on that. My only issue is this innovation. We are trying to help the farmer so that they can have their birds after vaccination, so that the farmer can gain from it. But some of us are taking this product, and based on how wonderful it is, we are putting a very high price on it. So I want to urge all of you, because we have visited the agrovets, this product is to help the farmer vaccinate the birds. If possible, bundle it up with the other vaccines. It becomes even easier for the farmer. Make the farmer think you are giving them for free, because the price is actually negligible. You have not put a very high price on it. And I'm even willing to say the price of this is less than 25 shillings. It's maybe 30 shillings. You can sell it at 50 shillings because it is to help the farmer. But tafadhali, there is no need to sell it at 200 shillings. It becomes like another vaccine. There is no need to sell it at 300 shillings. The rest sell the price you want. But can we agree to help the farmer on this product? Sini ya kumsaidia vaccinate kuku. Sawa. It is actually a medium to vaccinate the chicken. We don't want you to sell it as the product per se. It's a very good inclusion, but tafadhali, let it be within the range so that the farmer can benefit by ensuring that the water they are giving the birds is actually chlorine-free. And they can also see from the coloration that the chicks have actually taken in the vaccine. And if they have not taken in the vaccine, they can revaccinate the birds. Sawa. I think it's 11:10. I was told to stop at exactly 11:15, though I've not finished the presentation, but it's a nice place to stop at. Up to that point, do you have questions? Or we have understood a few aspects of early chick mortality in birds. As you have seen, I've really advocated more on the preventive measures, more on the husbandry, rather than where we discuss the disease and the treatment. Is there a question up to that point? On the products, or in the old training, on nutrition, on genetics, on management, or on the health of the bird? So I continue. Okay. Product-based positioning. Some of us have always asked us, how do you position all those products you guys are talking about? That is how you position them. we are recommending the Vigorex, which we said contains the probiotics, the enzymes, the prebiotics, and the electrolytes on week 1, together with the Vigo Kickstart. Week 2 is where we are doing most of the vaccination, so that is when we have the stress of the birds. So we are recommending Solvita. Week 3, we are asking you, because we are now doing the finisher, and we want the birds to gain more weight and ensure that the birds are heavy. During harvesting, we want you to do Vigo Boost Broiler, plus Solvita and Vigorex. Week 4, again, you stick with the Vigo Boost Broiler and Solvita. And then week 5, we would like you to do Vigo Boost Broiler and Solvita, so that the combination of that can help the farmer attain a weight of at least 2.2 kgs by day 45, because it is doable and it is possible, especially on the broilers, through correct husbandry and management. From the back there, how are we doing on time? We have a few minutes. Okay. So the last bit of it was the brooder-associated diseases. These ones I'm going to go through very fast. I know most of you understand these diseases, but we can always have a discussion of them. The first disease that you will be able to see in the day-old chicks is called aspergillosis in poultry. Aspergillosis is also known as the brooder pneumonia. Have you seen this brooder pneumonia, where the birds are gasping for air? At a very young, tender age, maybe 2, 3, 5, 7 days, the birds are trying to gasp for air, and you are wondering what is wrong with them. Most of the time, you find that the farmers are actually going to lose these birds because of the lung infections. It is actually a fungal disease. It can lead to high mortality rates in affected poultry populations. And although outbreaks of aspergillosis are uncommon, the economic impact can be substantial. That is the etiology. I would like just to mention the Aspergillus fumigatus as the source, and Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus niger. These are the 3 common fungal causes of aspergillosis, and they are actually spore-forming filamentous fungi. So ensure that you check out for this, and I'll just keep skipping to the clinical signs. The most common clinical signs of aspergillosis in poultry include dyspnea, labored breathing, fever, inappetence, emaciation, and increased mortality. Have we been able to see this disease in our farmers? Aspergillosis. It's not very common, but you can actually be able to see it, especially where there is poor brooding, poor ventilation, poor disinfection. This is what you end up with. And the birds will always be in that dyspnea state, where they are actually seeking to breathe out. Differential diagnosis is always infectious bronchitis, which always has respiratory signs, Newcastle disease, infectious laryngotracheitis, colibacillosis, E. coli infection, and mycobacteriosis, nutritional encephalomalacia. Nutritional encephalomalacia is what we were talking about, the stargazing in the chicks, and also the vitamin E deficiency. Disease treatment and control, no effective treatment. Kindly take note of that. No effective treatment. Measures to minimize exposure. Treatment of aspergillosis in affected poultry is generally ineffective. So this is one of the diseases that has no cure. What you just need to do is ensure that there is good ventilation. That is why we are talking about ventilation at the brooder level. There are farmers who lock in the birds in totality for the first 14 days. Have you been able to see that? They actually close everything, and they even put in a polythene paper to ensure the birds are what? Are warm. Because you told them the birds require 35 degrees Celsius of temperature. So ensure that there is good ventilation, and ensure that there is disinfection of the area. The second disease that is very common in the brooder is coccidiosis. Coccidiosis is a protozoa disease causing diarrhea, weight loss, and decreased production in poultry. It can be very fatal. Prevention is key and is achieved when you use anticoccidials or vaccination. Let us ensure that the poultry houses are well disinfected. I keep telling practitioners, I keep telling vets, the day whereby the pharmaceutical companies will import more disinfectants, more supplements, rather than antibiotics is the day that we will realize we have made a step in the right direction. At this point in production, I can tell you, most pharmaceutical companies, if they were to share their data, you will be very surprised. Because the amount of anticoccidials, the amount of antibiotics we are selling, and where do you think they end up? Where do you think they end up? Yes? In our bodies. Kuna mtu anafuga kuku za kunini? Za kuangaliaga weekend. You might have one or two. I had a client somewhere in Karen who, when you needed to eat chicken, they would go and buy for you from KFC, but do not touch the chicken in the house. They were companion animals. But majorly, in terms of profitability, in terms of entrepreneurship, is there anybody who is keeping these birds for that? So they will always end up where? In our bodies. I had a farmer in Naivasha who told me, Daktari, don't worry. You treat the birds. These eggs are for a certain supermarket. Where ukienda ndakupea zingine ziko pale nyuma. So my point is, we need to work, and we have to work together towards ensuring that we are into preventive medicine rather than curative medicine. It's very important, and I believe that is the day we'll actually be able to accomplish so much, because all those drugs you are selling in your shop end up in our bodies. Both crop, both animal, I can guarantee you, they end up in our bodies, and that's why we are having all these challenges. So I was speaking about coccidiosis, which is very common, and I was saying the biggest challenge in coccidiosis is because this protozoa is a resident of our poultry houses. It stays there. It will always be there. The only issue is, how do we ensure that this protozoa does not cause disease to our birds? By ensuring that it remains within levels whereby it cannot cause a disease. And this is through disinfection. This is through ensuring that there's a foot bath. This is through ensuring that you actually fumigate the house when the birds are inside. Some of the disinfectants we have actually work very fast, and you can disinfect even when the birds are inside, rather than waiting for the load of the coccidiosis to go up until you have to use treatment. The other thing I can tell you is, when you are treating coccidiosis, because I don't really want to go through the whole presentation, I'm almost out of time, is that when you are treating coccidiosis, kindly treat the birds and treat the house. And the question you need to keep asking the farmer is, where did we get this disease from? Because that is what you need to cure. That is what you need to prevent. So when you give the farmer an antiprotozoa, ensure that they also disinfect the house. Because whether you treat the bird or not, in 1 to 2 weeks, which is the incubation period, the chicks will be back with the same illness. Is this true or not? Every time you treat coccidiosis, you can always take note of that farmer. They will be back in 7 days. Because it will cure the birds, but they will ingest it again from the litter, from their feeds. As they walk by, we just need the protozoa to get to a certain level whereby it can cause disease. And then we have a farmer on that cycle of treatment. Those birds will never achieve their optimum potential, especially if it is weight gain. Because when the birds are dealing with any sickness, they do not care about production. They are only focusing on ensuring they are healthy. And that is why a farmer will tell you, why are my birds not adding weight? If they are in incubation of a disease, they will not add any weight. If they are recovering from a disease, they will not add any weight. And you give the farmer antiprotozoa for 7 days. So you can imagine a whooping 7 days where the birds are not adding weight. And the birds were supposed to be harvested at day 42. So add 7 days. This farmer is going up to 2 months. Is he still profitable? Is he still profitable? Because we are only treating the bird, and we are not thinking and helping the farmer by asking them, where is this disease coming from? So coccidiosis is very common, but ensure that we help the farmer by treating the house. Reduced feed consumption, rapid weight loss, lethargy, ruffled feathers, watery mucoid feces. The pathognomonic sign you're going to see is what? Bloody diarrhea. Si tunajua hiyo? Again, ask yourself, where is this blood coming from? The digestive system should not have pores that can bring out blood. Si ni ukweli? On a normal day, they are not bleeding. So you need to ask yourself, where is this blood coming from? That means there is actually a cut within the digestive system. So you also need to help the farmer ensure that that cut is closed up. And anytime there's a cut within the digestive system, which happens during sporulation of the oocyst eggs, anytime there's that cut, learn that there is already pathogenic bacteria in the digestive system. So what happens? They get into the gut and they cause an infection. Now you have two problems. There's the coccidiosis and there's the opportunistic infection. So those are the two things you need to cure. As you cure those two things, ensure that you give them something for the environment and ensure they repeat that. And what we are doing these days, we are just asking the farmers to have a 7-day routine fumigation of their birds while they are inside by using a disinfectant that is eco-friendly and that is a lightweight disinfectant, so that you keep reducing the load of any infections, of any viruses, of any fungal infections. And the farmer will actually get to harvest day without using any antibiotics or any antiprotozoa. So that is what all this story is about. There is no need for me to go through it. Avian encephalomyelitis, this is also very common. Avian encephalomyelitis is the epidemic tremors. It's a viral disease of the CNS of poultry. Avian encephalomyelitis is of economic importance to farmers. Natural field strains of the virus are enterotopic and multiply in the intestines. Infected birds shed the virus in their feces for a few days to a few weeks. So there's a lot of cross-contamination, which serves to transmit the infections to hatchmates, or rather, their fellow birds. So avian encephalomyelitis is actually a worldwide disease. You need to ensure that you understand about it. Morbidity and mortality rates vary and depend on the level of egg transmission and extent of the immunity in the flock. In severe outbreaks, morbidity and mortality rates may exceed 50%. So avian encephalomyelitis, you lose almost 50% of your birds. So that is very important for us to note and ensure that we do not have this disease in our farms. It's a viral disease. There is no cure to it, but we just need to ensure that the birds are well vaccinated. Then we have the yolk sac infection, which happens especially if our hatcheries are at home or if there is poor handling. Common isolates are E. coli and staphylococcus. The bacteria penetrate the shell and infect through the umbilicus. The signs on the yolk sac infection are swollen and distended abdomen, unabsorbed yolk, anorexic, and dull and weak birds. Have we seen this problem? Have we seen this? Omphalitis, yolk sac infection. It's not very common if you take care of the incubator quite well, of the hatching process quite well, and if the birds get to the farmer in their correct conditions. So it's one of the common diseases also that you have to watch out for. And any infection has to be treated with an antibiotic. But before we get there, ensure that the husbandry is well done. At Atlantis, we have 2 antibiotics for poultry, which we always want to train at the end of it, because this only comes in after the birds have been sick, but we are advocating for better management to ensure we do not get to this level and to ensure that we can keep the antibiotics that we have for quite a long time as we treat force meat. Force meat is a combination of fosfomycin and tylosin. Antibiotics. Talking about antibiotics, it's quite a sensitive topic. Tylosin saizi ikiwa peke yake iko percentage gani yenye iko kwa soko? Yeah? The highest concentration of tylosin? 75. Hakuna 100%. Have we seen 100%? Nani ameona 100% tylosin? The molecule, not the brand. Not speaking of any brand. Tulianza na 25%. Tulianza na 20%, si ndio? We went to 50. Siku na wakati 50% was the best thing ever, the farmer ever had. Then we went to 75. Most of you have not seen the 100. There's 100% right now. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Yes. Resistance, tolerance. I don't think we are going to get a 120%. Is it possible? So we can all be sure we are at the epitome of tylosin concentration. And that's why we are shifting to combinations. So let us take care of this product called antibiotics. Let us use them only when we must. And force meat is a very good combination of fosfomycin and tylosin. What we have done to this product, we have also added fructose 1.6 diphosphate. And fructose is very essential. When your birds are sick, they do not take up feeds. Si tunajua hivyo. When you look at most of our products, we have added an energy aspect. The fructose there at number 3, that is an energy aspect to it, because we know when birds are sick, they do not take up feeds, but they do drink water. So those birds, whenever they will take this product in their water, they will actually be re-energized, and they'll actually be able to start moving around and probably feed. Not because the dawa has worked, but because at least they have gotten some energy, which now will help them as they heal. So you can always recommend that product once you are sure that the birds have a respiratory problem, a staphylococcus problem, an E. coli problem, and it is actually indicated for poultry with infections of the respiratory and digestive tract, especially produced by E. coli and Salmonella, but also Mycoplasmosis, CRD, fall cholera, infectious coryza, avian, typhoid, and staphylococcal infections. Basically, any bacterial infection can actually be sorted out by this, but I'm really advocating that we take samples, we take them to the lab, we confirm which bacteria it is, then we recommend the best antibiotic for the birds. I would like to stop at that note and say that you have been wonderful students. Although you don't like raising up your hands, I have appreciated the session. In case you have any questions, you can ask me now, or you can ask me later. If you have any inquiries, maybe I'll share my number. I never like sharing my number at the start. I always say it is important for people to know what you are telling them before they start calling you. You know, you can share your number in the start and nobody wants to call you later. So in case you want to call me about the training or any of the products you have been able to see there, you're interested, you can call me on 0719-833-426. My name's Nicholas WAMBUA, and I hope we have learned something, or we have enriched our knowledge up to that point. So thank you, and maybe back to the program coordinator. Hello. I'm hoping there are no questions. The topic was quite elaborate, well understood. Because I've told you are wonderful students, so I'm also a wonderful teacher. Si ni kweli? Sasa ameharibu. Okay, we have a question on a very light note.